This content is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Draper Goren Holm or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever.
Boom! We are live. Welcome to What the Block, episode 12. We're very excited today. Got an amazing guest, Hrish Lotlikar from SuperWorld. But before we even say hi to Hrish, what I will tell you is that if you are on one of these places, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, or even on Periscope or whatever, you can be participating live. And if you comment and say something, we will see it on the screen and we can answer your questions. So join us in the chat. But Hrish, how are you doing, man? Welcome to
Good.
What the Block.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is great. You know, I'm doing well. It's an exciting week as always, and doing well, man. Lots of stuff happening. So very a lot of fun. You know, I think we're all having a lot of fun, and it's great to be able to empower people, at least in terms of what we're doing in SuperWorld. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's been crazy times in crypto. We already had, by the way, our first comment on here. Michael, who I don't know, if you know, but he's an incredible NFT artist. He's done a bunch of drops on Tezos and on Ethereum. It's pretty awesome.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
Howdy, Ancient Atoms.
Hey.
Reminds me of okay, I won't go there, but there's a cool song called Atoms by Bad Religion. But it's been so much fun, right? There's so many awesome things going on. So actually, before we jump into SuperWorld, I was going to ask you about it. On my Twitter, I'll retweet it at the top of my feed, but I did a giveaway, and full disclosure, we recently, DGH, Draper Goren Holm, recently invested in SuperWorld, and I set up a little giveaway on Twitter. So if you check that video of me visiting my actual SuperWorld land in real life and telling you why I got that land, respond with what part of the world and what piece of land you would want on SuperWorld and why, and I'm gonna give one person a piece of land on SuperWorld. So go there and check that out. But first, Hrish, tell us what's SuperWorld.
Yeah, thanks so much. SuperWorld is a virtual world mapped on top of the real world. So, I have a world, you have a world, brands have worlds. And so, if I walk or come to your city, wherever that is, London, New York, Paris, San Francisco, anywhere in the world for that matter, you could say, hey, Hrish, check out my world. And I could walk around and you've left me things. You've left a hologram of yourself somewhere fully interactive. I can talk to you, right? You've left photos and videos in different places. You've left messages at your favorite restaurants about what I should eat and drink. You've personalized the real world in augmented reality. I have a world, you have a world, brands have a world. So Nike could put a shoe somewhere, Coca-Cola could put in the same place a Coca-Cola bottle. Artists can put, interactive 3D art anywhere, right? All of these worlds are filters on the real world, right? And there could be an infinite number of filters, right? And so what I've described is a combination on a high level of Pokemon Go, which is an analogy for adding digital information to the real world, meets Foursquare, which is an analogy for data. On the data side, I want to be really clear so everyone understands, on the data side, we want to what's really important to us is data integrity, data sovereignty, data monetization. There's a lot of people that are really stuck on looking at their phones all day, as we all know, right? And I have kids, and I'm really cognizant of, the social media thing is great, but at the same time, people get sucked into these digital environments. And so on the data side at SuperWorld, our vision and mission is to improve the world, enhance the world, create your super world. And that means you have to be in control of your world and be able to create what you want. And so the data side is really important for us. Because, the high level vision here is SuperWorld's all about improving the real world. Our symbol is earth and heart, and that's really important to me. And then the third part of SuperWorld is monopoly. And that means that, we've divided the surface of the earth into 64 billion NFTs. We're on Ethereum now, but we're open. I mean, we're blockchain agnostic. We're looking at other blockchains and, looking for, total interoperability. And so again, you can buy a plot of land, 100 meters by 100 meters anywhere on earth. And if you own that block, you're getting a share of all the economics that happen on that block: advertising, transactions, e-commerce, digital commerce, data, analytics, gaming. And then we're building on top of that, right? So we have a mobile app that's in open beta right now, but I'd say in about 2 months or so, we'll kind of launch it. We might do some kind of like Clubhouse type release where we shut it down and only real estate owners will get access to this magical app in your pocket. And that app lets you put content anywhere. So you could be in LA on that running trail, and I could be in London, and I can say, boop. And then you turn around, now there's a big hot air balloon behind you, right? Or vice versa. You could say, hey, check this out. And you put something on that running trail and I click on it and it appears in front of me in London, right? Yeah. And so you have the ability to put content anywhere, access content from anywhere, or you can even make someone go somewhere. Like, hey, go to this park. I've left something for you there, including NFTs.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Like, I immediately was like, oh, I want to do some kind of NFT scavenger hunt. Like, I want you to physically go to the top of that hiking trail, take a selfie with the fake version of me, with my arm around you, and then you earn some kind of NFT badge or something like that, or things like that. Like, we've discussed all this stuff. Like, we were even talking about, when you go to that Twitter thread where I told you to go tell us where in the world you want, because you might win it. I explained that the reason why I bought this one piece of land next to where I grew up was because it's like the hiking trails I grew up with as a kid. We were even talking about, like, imagine like you start at the parking lot. There's a video of me that you can stand next to telling you a story of which options, like almost a choose your own adventure. And then you could go on a hike with me at all the different spots with your app. And I could tell you like the time my teenage friends and I commandeered a tractor on the other side of the canyon and tried to ride it through, the thing, and like all sorts of stupid stories, but imagine a celebrity doing that, or somebody that has, that's way more interesting than me, right? Like, there's so many possibilities.
You're a celebrity. You are. And that's the point, is that like everyone is empowered, right, to create a fan base, to create, NFTs, to create a community in SuperWorld. We're building a way for you to create your virtual world for your fans, for your family, for, whatever. So everyone is empowered, whatever, however they think of themselves, whether they're creating art or science or, they're in venture capital, anything, right? It's all about communities, right? And that's kind of what we're empowering.
Yeah, I mean, you just did the Lunar Crush live stream the other day, which was awesome. But Lunar Crush's tagline is "There is no crypto without community," and so it's kind of the whole reason for most of this technology being built. And if you look at NFTs now too, like, I think you can look at crypto as you can look at it very narrowly, right? You could be like, oh, they're creating this new business model and it's a place for me to get a job and make money and whatever. But most of the people and most of the high level reason this industry exists, and why most of us have been here through these sort of crypto winters and suffered through all this, is because like we really, really want to be here, and we feel like we have to be here more than it's like this opportunity. And at a high level, the whole point, right, on the DeFi and banking side is to flip things, like things that started correctly, right, community banking and things like that, have somehow over time been flipped to where the people who are providing the value, the consumers who are depositing money in the banks, are the ones somehow paying for that service, when they're the ones that are actually providing the actual opportunity for revenue for those banks. And so this ownership model is being flipped. And if you look at NFTs, a lot of people look at it, again, very narrow eyes, and be like, oh, this is some way for artists to make money, or this is just some new get rich quick scheme. But if you look at it and think about the whole opportunity, it's flipping the market, right? Like, think about the biggest artists that we know, the biggest musicians that we know. The only way they made money before, the only way an artist sold something in a gallery is when somebody got their work, somebody either bought it from them at a cheap price and then sold it for much more after doing some marketing, or they got an agent and then a record label and then an accountant and a lawyer and all those levels of things. And then with creative accounting, they make no money, right? Or they make $1 out of $10 that they actually create value. And now it's flipped, right? Now, not only can they go direct to the consumer because of the internet and because of all of these things and opportunities that we have in crypto, but then they can continue to collect royalties. Like if I created a piece of art 5 years ago and somebody bought it for me for $3, but today it's worth $100,000 and it's sold in a gallery for $100,000, the gallery makes that money. The artist gets nothing. But in crypto, you earn those royalties. You can continue to grow and continue to take that long tail, which the record label do. It's amazing. So it completely flips the business model, right? And so I think you are an extension of that, and you are, in a sense, you made the world a marketplace for that.
Yes, yeah, and I'm really excited about. And thanks for kind of going through that, because that's really important to I think for everyone to know in the world. And I don't think enough people know that, right? That simple concept of why NFTs are so important. But I think what makes me really excited about it is it really empowers creation. Because now people are realizing that they can get that long tail of income from anything they create if it is timeless and has lasting value, and if it is high quality and that's amazing.
Yeah, you can't forget that part, right? Lots of people are churning out junk right now, and it doesn't work out. I mean, it didn't work out in 2017 in the ICO days. It doesn't work out in any industry. People try to take advantage. It just doesn't happen. But if you create high quality work and you continue, that's the beauty of the internet, right? I think I did this, man, it was probably 12 years ago or so, maybe even longer, article that I had written talking about distribution over social media, when social media was a new concept to people, right? Like I worked at MySpace back in the day, and I remember saying, you could, the obscure is no longer obscure on the internet, because you don't have to find the weird local bookstore in the big city that's somewhat near you and find those, the other misfits and weirdos that are into the thing that you're into. You go on the internet, and even the smallest subcategories of ideas, of music, of art, of whatever the heck you're into, you can find those people on the internet, right? And so you can, for me, it was the first time people could really do what they want for a living, right? When we were growing up, our parents and people were like, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an accountant, be one of those jobs that will earn you a living, right? But now everyone can earn a living doing the thing they actually want to do. They still have to do the highest quality version of it. They still have to essentially be marketers for themselves and do these things. But that's the whole point of the distribution over the internet, right?
Yeah, no, it's very good. It's very true. It reminds me of a book I read about 8 years ago. It's a guy named James Altucher. I don't know if you've read it. It's
James. He's a bit of a goofball. He tried to probably make his way in the crypto space in the 2017-18 goofiness, but he does make some good points. He spoke at one of our original crowdfunding conferences, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the book, but it's all about self-empowerment, being yourself. I forget the title. I have to look for it, but it's a book that really, kind of touches on these. These shifts, these inflection points, and the point was in his book that you're really empowered now. It's called Choose Yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
I read it back in the day. I remember it was 2012 or something, right when it came out. And it's that is what's being empowered by blockchain, and you can choose yourself. You can do things yourself as an individual. You have the distribution, you have the technologies to create, you have the technologies to educate yourself, and you just got to spend time and do it. So.
Yeah. Well, like, how do you feel taking this to a whole different level? And then we'll get back to SuperWorld. I actually have a question here on the side too, but like thinking about the metaverse, right? Like, so there's like two feelings I have, right? Because there's land you could buy. What's the one that's the completely virtual world? That's
Decentraland.
Decentraland, right? So like you can go on Decentraland, you could buy something and you like to wear VR headsets and it's cool for you and it's fun and whatever, and it may become some hopefully not dystopian future that we're like living in this world and we could do these things, and it's kind of cool. Like it's an awesome concept, like the idea of buying virtual land, but there is this it's not tied to the real world. You're detaching yourself from reality. There's all this different stuff that maybe there's some negative, but there's also some positive and just radical connotations, right? But like taking that a step further into the decentralized finance world, decentralized governments world, just decentralized everything world, and thinking about the future, right? Like I am totally bought into this idea, and maybe it's 10 years out, maybe it's 100 years out of a borderless world, right? Like that, my ideal future is, crypto does away with wars, or at least violent wars. Crypto does away with ineffective governments, and people have more of their own say, right? Like it's there's so if you think of something like SuperWorld, could you think of like, okay, obviously this is buying rights to some kind of AR or VR world on top of it. We're not actually buying the land, right? Like I can't buy the open space land that's owned by the government that I bought the TP on, and I bought Lizard Rock and all these things. I can't actually buy it, but I can buy it in this VR AR world. But like, do you think of this or potentially some kind of gateway to I'm going to be part of some virtual country in the future where I get my health insurance through that, because the government in our country, at least, is clearly ineffective at providing good services, and they've even created a framework to let the private companies take advantage of us in that realm, right? Like so, like a virtual jurisdiction, right? Virtual governments, virtual insurance services, like all of these things are what the government's supposed to provide for us, right? Like, so do you think of this as maybe a gateway to that, or am I just way overthinking of it and going way too far down the rabbit hole?
No, 100%. No, I think you're exactly right. I think Balaji Srinivasan wrote an article, I think it was yesterday, about the topic. Yesterday. Yeah. And he calls it cloud countries or something like that. And essentially, we have huge digital communities, whether you're talking about Facebook or, other platforms out there, billions of people on it. Those are already functioning as communities. I think the opportunity, first of all, with SuperWorld, just to be clear, we're very supportive of every virtual world out there, any environment that anyone wants to create content. If you're creating content, hey, do that. What we want to do is empower you, right? So again, we're supportive of the whole ecosystem. We're very partnering with lots of different companies. There'll be announcements made, over the next months or so. Even maybe next week, there's one announcement coming up. And so like we really promote that. But I think ultimately where this is going, and one of the guys on our board is the guy who created the word metaverse for the IEEE, for the electrical engineering society. Yeah, and the metaverse as a term is kind of a mix of all of these communities and worlds, right?
Yeah.
And that's how he would define it. It's not like one company. It's a patchwork. It's an ecosystem. And so first of all, for SuperWorld, we're very supportive of helping to build that ecosystem and being part of it. What we're doing is coming to you in your real life. So that's how we think of our vision is we want to enhance your real life. And so we want to be that gateway when you want to go into virtuality from the real world. We'll get you there. And then you can go from SuperWorld into, anywhere else you want to go into the metaverse. And I think ultimately, with decentralized finance, with further tokenization, which are all areas that we're getting into, you're going to start being able to transact, being able to bank, being able to, buy virtual property and then do O to O opportunities. So online to offline, offline to online into SuperWorld, right? So, Tim Draper introduced us to Proppy, which is a great company that's in the portfolio that does physical real estate transactions. And, you can buy those transactions or come into those transactions from SuperWorld as well on the virtual land layer, right?
Oh, yeah, you could actually like take in like the Redfin API and see where like places are being sold and things like that. You know what? I wonder, like, think about this, right? So there's like all of these. Look at Lunar Crush, right? They're an example of there's certain metrics and data that you can get into Lunar Crush. I get like my alerts, right? I subscribe to all these different alerts, and you create custom alerts on Lunar Crush. Like Galaxy score goes up this percentage, it sends me a text. Social dominance or social contributors goes up a certain percentage, I get alerts, right? And those to me are the most exciting alerts. But other people, different things. Imagine on SuperWorld, you put in an overlaid layer of like Redfin or real estate stats, and you go like, you start to see heat maps of the speed in which real estate is sold maybe, or like here is the actual points on the map in the area you're zoomed into of houses for sale or real estate for sale. And you could go like, maybe those are opportunities for people to buy the plots of land and then shoot a note to the people who actually buy the house later and say, hey, would you like to own your house in SuperWorld? Like you can create these weird economies, but also maybe somebody like property or somebody, let's say just any random person who's selling a property should buy their land on SuperWorld so that they can even transfer those rights along with the property they're selling, right? Like, oh, you want to build something on this piece of land, you should own the rights to this land in the metaverse, right? Like, it's an interesting, I never took it to that level, but it could be so much fun to do things like that.
Yeah. And, I think the thing is that, right now, when we think about anything that we do in our lives, because of the internet, the thing that we probably first think about is, let me Google it, first of all. Like if I want to do something, I'm going to Google it and I'm going to end up on a website, right? That's actually not what happens if you're out in the real world without a phone. If you're out in the real world without a phone and I tell you, hey, you know what, there's like a concert happening next to you, you're going to look around for it, right? The instinctual thing for us is to look around for a thing and go to that direction. And so that's actually a lot more intuitive for us in life, right? Anything as a baby, it's just look for the noise and go towards it, right?
I'm getting flashbacks of being a teenager pre-phone and being in a city like San Francisco and seeing a flyer on a post and going like, wait, where is that? Is that tonight? And then like start walking around the city in zigzag. I've never been to that venue. Is that a bookstore? Is that a basement? What is it? Like you start walking around.
Right. And so, the thing is at SuperWorld, imagine being able to transverse the whole planet and going to places. So I'll give you an example. So we have a well-known DJ, Richie Hawting, last week bought his studio, right? In somewhere in Canada. And, he wants to do a lot of live concerts, offline, real event stuff there. And then he also wants to make those things virtual. So we have let's say a 360 camera, pretty easy setup where he's doing a live feed. He'll sell tickets as NFTs. There's a lot of things he can do online and offline, right? But he wants to do it at his studio, right? Which is in some location. And the interesting thing is that, probably a ton of his fans never have ever heard of where his studio is. They don't know that, And so now they have a very strong, like, locational understanding of where he's from, like where his studio is. He can capture all that revenue at that location as well. You can say, hey, anything you want, come to my studio. Right?
He can let other artists, at his live shows, he could have other artists that, have a gallery of NFTs or whatever they do, and anything they sell, he could take like a rev share and things like that, right?
he makes a real world location, which in his case he's connected with and proud of, and interested in, and maybe he grew up there, whatever it is for any individual person, and he's made it very relevant. And he's also, provided a very contextual way to learn more about him by going to that location. If you want to learn about, what you enjoy doing, go to the running trail, learn about what my life is about. And, and that's, I think the thing that always really inspires me about SuperWorld is every time I talk to anyone, everyone has a story about where they're buying real estate. Why is amazing. Like, why are they buying there? And you see a lot in the NFT world, especially, a lot of people buy these assets because they think they're going to go up in value. That's why they're buying. They're like, I have no idea about what pack I'm getting, NBA Top Shots, but I'm going to get it because it's going to go up in value. I don't know anything about basketball.
But what's interesting, I try to tell people to go the angle of like, why are you buying this? Like, what's the why for you? And like, I don't buy NBA Top Shots because like I don't have that. I do like basketball. I love watching it with certain friends, especially. But like those friends, like my cousin Yoni or my friend I grew up with, Shai, like they're obsessed, right? So when you ask them about a specific player or a specific thing, or you show them that moment, they were watching that live, and it's meaningful to them because they were pissed off because they lost the game, or they were so excited because they won the game. And when that dude dunked it, it was such a big deal. But that's why Top Shots is successful, because there are at least that subcategory of people who are obsessed, right? Sure. And remember, the first time we talked about SuperWorld, I was totally distracted. I was only half listening to you because I was on the map, and I was going to like my grandparents' houses in Israel, and I was going to trying to find, little spots that are meaningful to me, because I thought like how amazing would it be to own this? And like, I never thought about it like, oh, I'm going to buy this because it's going to be, something that's making money. With the exception of by like the third or fourth conversation we had, I bought the lobby of the LA Convention Center because I was thinking at the next time we do LA Blockchain Summit and we actually can do it in real life, I'm going to do a virtual NFT gallery in SuperWorld with all of the awesome artists, and I want to be in control of that and like raise money for a charity or do something like that. And so I thought, okay, there's a monetary reason, but like everyone has a story. That's why I did the giveaway, right? Like every person I talk to wants to buy a piece of land for some weird reason. Even if it's like they thought of it for business, it's like, oh, I want to buy where CBGB's was in New York because I went to a concert there a bazillion years ago, and I bet you a lot of people are going to want that, and it's going to be expensive, right? But they have like their own angle as to why. It's the world. It's the whole freaking world, right?
Yeah, and that's exciting. And by the way, I own NBA Top Shots, and I, again, support the whole ecosystem. I guess my point was that, like, as you said, like everyone has, and that's what's exciting is everyone has this like very like sentimental kind of emotional connection to places they buy. And there probably are places they buy thinking, hey, this is going to go up in market value. But even those places, there's some connection. In your case, you do a big conference there, right? And you've been doing a conference there for a long time, and you've been in that space, right? It's not just some random space that you've never been in. You've spent time there. You've built a business there, right? In your case, right? And so there is a connection, and that's what's cool, man. Because I love traveling. Like I do this, Alon. I do this from the heart, man. I love what we're building at SuperWorld, and our team is building. I love like the empowering of artists and creators and giving people accessibility to the world. And, as you said, giving people this ability to get into decentralized finance, education, being able to really empower anyone to do anything, anywhere, with anyone at any time. That for me is amazing. I think that's like pure freedom. When you can do anything, anytime, with anyone, anywhere, all of that, and you can create, and you can, monetize, earn revenue, and you can live a life that you want. That for me is awesome. And if we can empower everyone in the world to have that ability, that is what we want to do at SuperWorld. Is we want to empower everyone, and so that's exciting.
I love it. And like you said, there's 64 billion squares in the world.
Yeah.
right? So I think there's enough for everyone to find their places, everyone to do their thing, and it's a new world, right? Like you can't go to SuperWorld and be like, oh, you know, all the good spots are bought up, because what makes a good spot, right?
Exactly.
What you bring to the table. This is you know, this is the wide open frontier right now.
Yeah.
And who knows, you could take 10 squares in the middle of the ocean and make it your special thing and create something there and do something there.
Yeah, because people can go places virtually. They don't have to physically go there to see that content. They could just click on the map and all these things appear in augmented reality in front of them, right? And then also with DeFi, you know, the value of plots, you can get, you know, being able to buy real estate wherever it is will have value, even if it's in the ocean, because it makes you a key stakeholder on the SuperWorld platform by owning part of that platform. And so there's ways on the, you know, economic side to provide value regardless of where you buy in the world. And then to your point, you know, there's ways to accrete value anywhere. So, you know, there was once just a desert in Nevada, but now it's where Burning Man is, right? So you have a lot of people like, hey, I'm buying this place in the desert, this place in the desert, this place in, you know, Black Rock City. And they're buying it because it's significant for them. But, you know, you can create your own festival, your own Woodstock, wherever it is, right? And that could be a very, you know, a lot of people are realizing that locationally they have the ability now to create like brand value from their own brand, you know, just like the Richie Hotting example. Maybe, you know, 2 weeks ago, that was just a studio. There was nothing that he could do there. But now that could be, you know, HQ worldwide for him, for bringing in people, bringing in significance and connection and with his fans.
What's a website today versus what it was 20 years ago versus what it's going to be 20 years from now, right? Like you said, now everyone goes through Google or they're sent somewhere with a link. So remember, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, owning pizza.com was the most important thing. I think Pizza Hut or one of those groups bought it. And at the time it was maybe the most expensive, I think, non-porn URL that was ever sold, right?
I love pizza. I get that.
Right? So me too. So like, but like now you don't like, but the reason they bought that and why it was so valuable is because certain people would go on the internet and be like, what do I want? Oh, I want pizza. I got to go to pizza.com, right? Like that's literally what people would do. There was, for the longest time, there was a fight. There was this engineer who owned Nissan.com. And it actually was his last name was Nissan. And so Nissan, the brand, was fighting with him for years over that domain name. They tried to do it. He legally wasn't squatting on it because it's his actual name. And this dude ran ads on it, was a successful engineer, and no matter how much money they threw at him, he wouldn't take it. He's like, this is my domain name and I want it. But now it probably doesn't matter at all for Nissan because most people get to Nissan by just Googling it, right? But for years, they were probably losing money because every person who was thinking about getting a Nissan probably went to Nissan.com. But what I'm saying is that's not important anymore, and that's yesterday's. And you can see the trajectory, right? Like we're talking about MySpace back in the day, but before that, even GeoCities was such a big deal because that was the easiest way for people to launch websites. And then, you know, WordPress still powers, I think, something like 40 to 60% of the internet. But what's the future of that going to be like? And are people going to go to a website, or are people going to like search in some different search engine or actual search in the real world and be like, I'm not going to go to I don't know what's a store at the mall that people like to go to. I'm not going to go to Zara. I'm going to go to the Zara headquarters in the metaverse and walk around and shop that way. Yeah. Right. And then, so it doesn't matter where in the world it actually is. It just matters that it exists in the world and that they could put on their VR headset or put on their glasses and see certain things, or just on their computer or on their phones, be able to walk down the aisles in a different kind of more real feeling experience. Right?
Yeah, so 100%. I think it's going to be, I think next what's coming, and we're working on this, is audio search, right? And this is obviously Google already does this in terms of like search terms and just searching on Google. But really, you know, how do you have contextual understanding of your environment and be able to get into environments based on what your interests are. And, again, a lot of this is important to be permissioned about this. So you don't want to be barraged with content. But if you do want to learn about the latest car that you're, interested in buying, or clothes, or whatever it happens to be, or, learn about art, that's pretty awesome. Why don't you, sit back and see that in your living room with a pair of glasses on, and you don't have to search for anything, because the algorithms, and, when you are searching for something, if you do it in a very permissioned way, you're being able to see content and access content and interact with your friends, and do it in a very, real time, intuitive way, in a much more intuitive way.
What if I walk outside and I'm looking out the window and my neighbor has a like a Toyota something? Let's say that's a Camry. I can't tell just from the front, right? So what if I walk up to the Camry and I'm looking at it? Could I just ask the world, or ask Siri, or tap my glasses and be like, or have it listening and just be like, yo, glasses, is the Camry the fastest car in this price range? And then it could pop up and be like, oh no, the Civic is actually much faster in the same price, right? I agree. He said the greatest UX is the one you naturally take for granted, right?
And that's Will Burns. He's on our board. He's amazing.
Right.
He is the creator of the modern definition of the metaverse, and he's been living in the metaverse for about 20 years already, I think, or longer. And we have some amazing conversations. Really enlightened person, and a wonderful guy. And I think what we're trying to do again is, we're trying to build SuperWorld in a fundamentally in the right way. That's our goal, right? Because there's a big opportunity here in front of us, and I think there's I'd say there's kind of 4 kind of main things that we're focused on. So one, we're very customer centric. So we want to be really focused on what do people want, and really figure out what they want and try to build that. Number 2, very, very innovative. We want to, integrate with, interoperability on the blockchain side. We want to, utilize the latest AR, VR, the latest AI, just kind of make sure that we're, on the forefront of what's happening. We want to be very, very long-term oriented. And then on the operational side as well, we want to make sure that, you're able to get these things. And so as we're growing, we're really trying to focus in on how do we make sure that, customers are really happy and we're able to perform all these things. So we're, again, as a startup, we're kind of working through those things, but just out there in terms of values, that's very important for us. And Will, who just wrote, on the fundamental, foundational, thinking about the metaverse, right? The greatest UX is the one you naturally take for granted. That should be that seamless experience where, you're able to get all this information and access and interact with people in a very natural way. That's what we want to be focused on.
Well, it reminds me, what's really funny is, I don't know if you were into this stuff when you were a kid. I'm not sure how our ages line up exactly, but one of the first computer games I ever played.
Yeah, I'm 21, by the way.
The first computer game is Quest for Glory. And the game came out at the time. Well, not maybe before the mouse existed on the computer, but definitely before most people had an access to computers. And in Quest for Glory, one of the first role-playing games, RPG games. So your character would walk into a scene, you would see something happen, and then you'd have to type commands, and you'd have to be talk to the goon, right? And then you would click enter, and it would be oh, I didn't understand your command. And then you'd be like, talk to that guy, and then you'd do some kind of /H or something like that, and it would give you the help text and be talk, walk, this, and you'd be walk to the right. But you'd have to type in the commands, and then your character, all pixelated, would walk to the next side of the screen, or go up to the person, and then you could fight them. And you'd have to type, use the sword and use this. But then like the later versions of that game, they started adding, like when mouse became popular, the graphics got a little better, then you could click like the 4 options or whatever. And now today, if a game like that existed, you'd be able to, if they wanted to set it up that way, those same commands could exist, but you could actually just speak them, right? So you'd be like, you know, walk to the right, walk forward, fight the goon, do the this. And so like I had this idea a few years ago of like voice command games, but like just what's happening in real life and what's happening in real time with our phones, and like, you know, my kids knowing how to ask Siri to play certain songs and to search for things and to do things. Like it's becoming just second nature because we're interacting with technology the way we interact with each other, right? Imagine if you had, like, before Wikipedia existed, you either opened up a dictionary or an encyclopedia, or you'd be like, oh, Will knows about this subject. I'm going to call Will, or I'll be like, hey, Will,
Yeah.
what's, you know, like, how do you get to this place, or how do you do this thing?
Yeah.
Who is this person, right? And you'd have that smart friend, but like now we have the smart friend in our phone always. And like what's crazy is when my kids want to know something from Siri,
Yeah.
that they can't find out, or like is nonsense, or like they're like, but Siri knows everything, like, right? But like we interact with the real world that way now, and it's, I think like what you guys are doing is sort of a natural extension of that. Like it does the audio, the voice, but also the physical aspect of it all, of being in the real world and being able to, the real world and the virtual world coming together, I think is either a stepping stone or the enhanced future, right? Like a human is going to use AI to make themselves better, hopefully not to replace us, right? so I like that approach a lot, and I'm thinking out loud as I'm thinking about it. But I think it's a fun sort of mind exercise to think about the Will just had another comment. I don't know if Hrish knows this. I like it. I pounded my coffee and finished it in the first minute of this conversation as well. But actually, we do have a specific question about SuperWorld before we end. And if anybody else is watching live on any of the platforms, feel free to ask questions. Ancient Adams, who commented earlier, had a question that basically said, like, what if there's a bunch of things left in the same place in SuperWorld, right? Like what happens if Coca-Cola and Nike and me all put to, one thing in the same area? What happens?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a very important one to understand about SuperWorld, is that any person has a world. So every one of us can have a world. I mean, we can even create multiple worlds, right? But every one of these worlds is a filter on top of the real world, right? So if I'm in any location, I can see my world, and then I can flip and see your world. I can flip and see, another brand's or another artist's world, or if I'm interested in some educational topic or entertainment topic, I want to see a movie. These are all filters that pop up, right? And when I'm in my world, I can even, potentially combine filters. So the world is a video game, and you kind of have control over that. There's no limit as to what can happen there. And I guess to answer his question, again, you have full control over that. Right. And so, if I don't want to see anything but a clock, that's what I want to see. It's like your iPhone, right? Your iPhone, you could delete all those apps and it's just like the calculator or something on your phone. Right. And so the same idea is that, first of all, you have control, you have the data integrity, the data sovereignty, privacy, all of those things in your virtual world. But then, any location, it'll have infinite number of content and infinite monetization opportunities, any location, right? Because even if you're not interested in something, there's a lot of other stuff going on there. There's people virtually visiting all these locations, right? So if you own that spot, you're getting a share of the economics there. But you can decide what layer you want to view, and what it's also contextually.
So have all the layers, have all the noise, have all the stuff, or just be in a place anything exists here, and you can see it. But then if there's too much, like in Times Square or something, you can choose which layers. You can be like, okay, I want Alon's layer because I'm on his scavenger hunt. Or I want Nike's layer because I'm looking for my 50% off coupon. Like, you can do all these things.
And we can also understand potentially what you want, right? And you could say, hey, give me the curated layer, right? The curated filter. And you know what? This filter understands me so well, they're going to show me what I want. They know. Whereas this AI knows what you're, Stephen Wolfram, who's on our board, who's one of the top AI computer scientists in the world, he got SuperWorld in 5 seconds. Literally, I've never seen anyone get it that fast. He's an amazingly smart guy. He was like, this is GPS for life.
Yeah.
I was like, it took me 5 more seconds. I was like, yeah, you got it. That's it. And what that means is, GPS understands where you are and where you want to go. Right. And if you think about that in every sense of the word, that's what SuperWorld is. If you want to learn something, if you want to see some music, if you want to entertain yourself, if you want to travel somewhere, that's what SuperWorld is. GPS for life.
I love it.
You can own it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm in, and I could take this so many deeper down, but I want to get through a couple more questions. We were joking before this that we could just go on a live stream all day long and just let things come in and see what happens. I'm gonna do that one day. Actually, I'll make it like I'll make the StreamYard like link for speakers, like a little clubhousey thing, and send it to people and just like drop in throughout the day. Whatever happens, like let's just have a thing.
Let's do that, man. That'd be fun. We got to get you on our clubhouse too, the SuperWorld Clubhouse.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah. So so Daniel has an interesting question. So as we know, one of the first things you can do on SuperWorld is buy the plots of land. And so he's trying to get some data on how many, what's going on. He's then added, it's hard to convince friends without some of this data, and he owns 90 plots. Daniel, you are a champion. So for Daniel, is there a place, a central place to get data yet, or anything like that, or can the community build something like that?
Sure. I mean, obviously, a lot of this data is we're on the blockchain, so this is public information, right? And we're a blockchain company. I would say to you that what we're focused on right now at SuperWorld isn't the outright growth at all costs, to be clear, right? I mean, we could do a lot more to kind of blow this up really big if we want to right now. We're very long-term oriented, right? Just as a company, like we've been around for 3 years. It's not like we just started because of NFTs or something like that, right? And by the way, SuperWorld is not just NFTs. We're content in general. You don't have to build NFTs. You don't have to buy real estate. That's another thing, right? Just to be clear, you don't have to buy real estate to be involved in SuperWorld. So that's another thing. But to answer that question, we've had pretty explosive growth. We've had a 43,000% increase in real estate sales. And we don't want to push those numbers out there into the public because it's not about, I don't want people buying real estate because they're wanting to get in on this thing and flip, right? I want people who understand our mission, who understand we're building a better world. If you understand that vision, you want to come and buy, we welcome you. Come and buy some real estate, become part of this key ecosystem, be a key stakeholder. The easiest way to figure out what's going on is go to the map and you'll see like what's being bought. And then very soon we're adding a dashboard there where you can filter down and you can see what's trending, what's selling, so we'll add a lot of that data. So that's coming very soon. Again, we're on the blockchain, so it's all out there. But the third part of it is, in terms of that information, I would say the other thing that maybe people aren't thinking about that we're doing is we're going to be adding real world data into the virtual land layer. And so that real world data is going to help you decide, oh, okay, I see this plot of land in the real world is going up in value because they're doing things in the real world here. Wow. That has implications now in my virtual land. His 90 plots have different characteristics, right? And what if in a little bit I tell you, hey, you know what? It looks like you're interested in parks, or you're interested in beaches, or you have a lot of historical places you're buying, you might want to be buying these places or those places, or this guy's selling for this price and that price. And so we want to really kind of build all that stuff out, right? And really kind of focus in on the users that own plots.
I don't know if I lost you, Hrish, or if you guys lost me. If anyone's in the chat, let me know if you still see me. Uh-oh. Anyway, I think that I am still live. Let me test my internet connection here. I'm still live, so oh, thank you. So we lost Hrish, but let me, as we finish off, if we lose Hrish completely, oh, Hrish is back. Sweet. So we should be getting to the end, and I'm seeing Hrish is a little bit. Oh, I can.
I think for some reason, I don't know what happened. My son's downstairs, and maybe he unplugged the Wi-Fi or something. No idea. Now I'm on my hotspot just in case.
Hey, it was cool. It was a good test to see if the people that are on the stream are actually here and watching, and it was good. But I do that all the time when my internet connection drops. I jump to my hotspot. So I think we get some of the picture, and we're running a little bit late on time. I think that one thing I'd like to do before we go is if you can share the links and where to follow you, that's really, really important. We'll have to do this again soon, or do like a clubhouse or something like that, because there's just so much stuff we can talk about.
Yeah, sure. So SuperWorld, you can Google SuperWorld, we'll come right up. So that's the easiest way to find us. Think about SuperWorld, you'll find us. We're a movement. So you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, anywhere. Just Google SuperWorld app is the best way, or SuperWorld. Tell your friends. I would say that the thing to do is go to our website and join Team SuperWorld. And Team SuperWorld's on the About section. You'll get a dashboard, okay? And anytime you spread social media messages about SuperWorld, anytime you do anything, you can earn land. Very soon you'll find out you'll be able to earn crypto from doing this. And so there's a lot of ways to spread the message and grow. If you believe in building a better world, which is what we're all about, join our movement, get involved, and, contact us. If you want to contact me directly, CEO@superworldapp.com. I'd love to talk to you if you have ideas, if you want to get involved, if you love what we're doing, you want to improve the world, come on board. So we'd love to talk to you.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, something I've got to drop before I forget is DraperGordenHome.com is where I am. We invest in early stage companies, but we also do these events. Adam does his blockchain and booze events every Tuesday night. I do these every Friday morning, and we have events all of the time. So we recently had Security Token Summit, but we're going to have an NFT Summit. We're going to have Global DeFi Summit soon, and every year we do LA Blockchain Summit. That's our big event. So join us at those events. Go to drapergordonhome.com/events and all that fun stuff. But Hrish, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you go to superworldapp.com. Go to my Twitter. I'll make sure it's at the top of the feed right now, or I'll pin it for the next couple days and give people a few more days to tell me what spot in the world you would want on SuperWorld and why you want it. Give me good reasons, and I'm gonna pick a person or two and give them that plot of land. So Hrish, thank you for your time today. Really excited. Congratulations on all the success, and to much, much more.
Thank you so much. Alon, it's a pleasure. It's an honor. And, you're such a wonderful, vibrant, just loving person. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And, I really love all the spirit and energy that you and Draper and Gore, the whole team at DGH, Adam, you really bring to this market. So we all kind of thrive together. And I want to thank you for all that you do to bring fun and positive energy to this space. So thanks, man. I really appreciate being on today.
Thank you. All we can do is amplify the awesome work of people building great things. So thank you. I'll talk to everyone soon. Thanks. Subscribe everywhere, all that fun stuff. I'll talk to you all soon.
See ya.